Hello, and welcome back to more Ikoku Nikki, Journal of which it's been some time. I'm back from my trip from Japan now. My room's a mess. You can probably see Nyamu there for some reason. She's not usually there. A Pokemon ETB, some mugs, like my bags and shit there. I need to build some shelves to replace those small shelves there. To fit everything on that I've ended up buying. So hopefully, I mean, I'll have a Japan haul video out by the time you see this, hopefully, and hopefully by the time the newest episode of Ikoku comes out, there will be different shelves there and it'll be more neat and organised. Today we're only doing episodes 8 and 9. I think it's 8 and 9. Yeah. Because right now, obviously the last episode I watched before I left was episode 7. 3 episodes have come out since then. I'm recording this on Thursday. The 4th episode, or another episode, will be out this Sunday. So instead of doing 3 now, I'm going to do 2 now, and then 2 when the next one comes out, and I'll just get those out as soon as I can. I was thinking of doing 3 in one video, but it's a bit emotionally exhausting, especially for a show like Ikoku Nikki. I want to be able to talk about it and discuss it in the right state of mind and headspace. I think by the time we get to the 3rd episode, I'd be quite exhausted, and so like 2 episodes is a reasonable amount to do, and it also allows me to do 2 the next time as well, rather than splitting it up into a 3 and a 1, which feels a bit awkward. So yeah, back with Ikoku Nikki. Thank you guys for just waiting and patiently waiting for me to come back and get these recorded. It's been a shame I haven't been able to watch it. Been catching up on a bunch of other seasonals and saving this one now for when I feel like is the best time to record it. I've settled in a bit since I've come back now, so I feel like I'm ready to go. And obviously we'll do 2 episodes today, so that'll be episode 8 and 9, and then 10 and episode 11, which is coming out Sunday. I'll do those 2 in another video as well. So yeah, let's just not waste any more time. Let's just get straight back into it. Wonder who that could be. That's straight from the opening, right? Oh, the diary, yeah. A journal.
日記を残してたの。
日記？
悪いなと思いつつ残すべきか判断したくてちらっと中を見たんだけど、朝当てだった。あなたが20歳になったらあげようと思って書き始めましたって。姉には20歳になっても結局渡さないって選択肢もあったと思う。あと5年も生きてたら。朝は今も母親に会いたがってる。日記の中には母親は生きてるでしょう。今こそ読みたい時かもしれない。
Glad we're seeing this again, because
彼女
it's
自
a
身
bit
が
of a catch up
読
for
む
me.
時を決めるべきかもしれない。
いつ渡してやるべきか。
Yeah, but she kind of went out of her way to see that. Was rejecting
勝手に死んだんじゃん。
her love, yeah. The last episode was phenomenal.
何？
With the little backstory we got of her as
お
well.
母さんもマキオちゃんも私に隠して。ムカつく。
Yeah, because she thinks of these things too cynically, because
ムカつく。
it's too much to think of it in a good way.
朝、あなたの名前は必ず来る新しくて美しいものという意味を込めて一生懸命考えました。あなたが誰からも愛されるよう心から願っていますし、そのためにきっと何でもしてやろうと思います。あなたがどんな人になって何を選ぶのか今は何もわからないし、ずっと先もわからないかもしれません。でもあなたがあなたを好きでいられる人であればそれで十分だと思います。
それは大きな穴を覗き込むような作業で、その暗い穴の底には本当は母は私を愛していなかったのではないか
She has to cling on to this. She has to cling on to this.
が
If
潜んでいたのだ
this is all done earnestly and honestly, like
お母
as
さ
it
んは
has,
あなたのことが
it would be too much for us to handle. This is the only way she can cope with
そん
this.
なの嘘かもしんない。わかんないじゃん。なんだってかけるもん。わかんないじゃん。わかんないじゃん。
And not getting to eat
ただいま。
with Makio. This is going to be a rough one. That recap session was much appreciated, to be honest. Really good timing because the show hasn't done that really so far. And that was a decent chunk of the episode dedicated to recapping that.
気に入ったお誕生日おめでとう朝。
ありがとう。
大事にしてね。
Yeah, she's just kind of been using that without thinking about it. Oh yeah, it's not a great time for Makio to be
もう行くの？
more distant.
朝
But she doesn't
挨拶
know.
いってらっしゃい。
できます。
なんだ？
そうそう、それがさ。
奈良さん、ちょっといいですか？
Emily, hey.
はい。
欠席なんだけど連絡取れなくて。
え？風邪じゃないんですか？
Oh, she didn't come in.
牧雄さん、こんにちは。昨日と今日朝が欠席してるの。私は朝から風邪だって聞いてたんですけど、学校に連絡がなくて先生がどうしたのかって聞いてます。電話出てほしいそうです。
もしもし、エミリさん。連絡はありがとう。
担任の大垣です。
あ、朝のおばの広大です。
すみません。お電話出られず。
いえいえ、朝さんは大丈夫ですか？
それが昨日も今日も普通に家を出て行ったので、当然学校にも行ってるものと。
そうですか。なるほど、わかりました。帰宅はいつも通りですか？
はい。昨日はいつもと同じ時間に、夕方に。もうどうしよう。
大丈夫です。これから対応していきましょう。
私も朝もビビリだから今まで学校サボるとかなかったんですね。だからなんか理由があると思うんです。多分変なことはしないと思います。私まで嘘つかれてたのはちょっとショックだけど。
そうね。ありがとう。
Emily's so great.
エミリさん、
はい。
We don't get a lot of
朝
it,
の行き
but
そうなところを教えてくれるかな。
と捕まえてくる。
え？広大さん、今日も帰宅してくるようならそれから話し合われても。
心配なのでじっと待ってることはできません。
I don't think she'd be able to work.
もう授業だね。
ごめんなさい、後で LINE してください。先生もご心配おかけして申し訳ありません。
いえいえ、今度面談ありますしお話ししましょう。
はい、お願いします。では失礼します。
大丈夫かな、牧雄さん。
奈良さんは匠さんとは幼なじみなのよね。
はい。
匠さんの亡くなったご両親ってどんな方たちだったのかな。
お母さんはすごいきちんとした人でした。お父さんは割と空気で、
Yeah, we've seen
で
nothing
も
of
わか
him.
んないです。本当はどんな人かなんてわかんないよなって私も最近思うから。
奈良さんって大人。
ごめん、こんなことで呼び出して。
こんなことじゃないだろう。それに思ったより簡単だったんじゃないか。人に頼るの 手伝ってって言うだけだったろ。
全然難しいですけど。
広大さん、お待たせしました。
遠野先生、助かります。
どこにいるか心当たりは？
行きそうな場所は聞いたので、そこを回ろうかと。すみま
If
せ
from
ん。
what we've
大
seen,
ごとにしてしまって。
Maki or
いや、
we wouldn't know.
大ごとにした方がいいのではないでしょうか。朝さんはいわば後ろ盾をなくした状態です。子供というのはたびたび大人を試したがりますし、親でなくともこれだけの大人たちが自分を心配するのだと、ちゃんと見せた方がいいのではないかと。
そうですね。とっちめてやる。
君、怒ると怖いからほどほどにな。
みんなは持ってるのに私だけ持ってないとかおかしくない？エミリは今年だけで5センチも背が伸びて、千代ちゃんは顔が可愛いのに頭も良くて、アスカちゃんちは超お金持ちで、私だけ何にもない。ずるい、ムカつく、ずるい、ムカつく、ずるい。全部お母さんのせいじゃん。
Yeah, easiest person to
お
blame.
母さんが勝手に死んだからじゃん。
受け入れる準備ができ始めたんだろうか。朝、両親が亡くなったことを。
そうかもな。
あの子すごく寝るんだよね。そうやって傷んだ自分を少しずつ一人で消化しようとしているのかもしれない。
Like she doesn't have time to do that a
ど
lot
う行動すればいい
with
か
school
まだわからない
now,
の
so
かも
she's more
私
alive
は白
now,
状だから、
which is making
父が
her,
死んだ時もち
confront
っとも悲しくなくて、
along with finding out about
そ
the
れは
channel.
今もなんだけど、嫌いでもなかったのに、少し寂しいなぁと思うくらいで、だから朝にかける言葉が見つからないんだよね。
Yeah, she doesn't feel
君が
she
白
has the
状
right to.
冗談言え。むしろ劇場家だろう。割に怒りっぽいし。
それはこの辺ですか？
ああ、この近くの駐車場に止めましょう。この先のタピオカ屋？
そう、前にそこで長居したことがあるんだって。
へえ。
学校サボってタピオカ飲みますか？
っていうか、サボって何するのかね。
私も
Yeah,
わかりま
these
せん。
three aren't exactly the best.
学校サボったことがない。
ええ、私は早朝勉強会というものに参加したかったので。
Doesn't surprise me that he was very diligent.
あ、俺一回だけあるな。高一の時、友達に誘われてラーメン食いに。
へへ、あるんじゃん。
楽しかったよ。当然バレたけど。先生は軽く叱るくらいで見逃してくれたし。でも、家に帰ったら、親父が俺を見て舌打ちして。お父さん、ごめんなさい。
うわ、
血の気が引いてね。それが最初で最後。
それ、お父様に抗議申し上げたいですね。
え？
対話すべきところを
いや
舌打ち一つというのは感心しません。そんなたった一回のことで子供の自尊心を
Yeah, that's clearly like
反省しているにもかかわらず。
affected him and thought about it.
すみません、ご家族のことを。
いや、もっと聞きたいっすね。親父の悪口。ぜひ。
え？
だって、家族の悪口ってなかなか。
いましたね。
タピオカ飲んでるな。学校サボって。
なんやろう。
マキオさん、冷静にな。
なんだこれ、すっごい弾力。重いな。
そうなんだよ。俺も差し入れで食べたことあるんだけどさ。
これ昼食代わりにできますね。
ああ、無理かも完食。
なあ、若さって偉大だな、朝さん。すごく心配したよ。
嘘だ。マキオちゃんに好かれたいだけでしょ。
俺は君も大事な友人だと思ってるし、 心配もするよ。そう言われるのは悲しいな。
お待たせしました。行きましょう。
二人で後ろに乗って。
ありがとう。
なんで？なんなのみんな。
Yeah, she's not gonna take well to this.
休みたいなら休みたいって言えばいい。大勢に嘘をついたことは感心しない。
嘘ついてるのはそっちの方じゃん。
私が？
日記隠してた。お母さんのやつ。マキオちゃんの部屋の奥に隠してたじゃん。見つけたもん私。
朝さん、勝手にマキオの部屋に入ったのか？それは君、家族でも。
Yeah, that's not the point. It's not really worth
同じみたいで最悪だ。
scolding that at this time, yeah.
朝、あれは隠していたわけじゃない。あなたにはあれを読む権利がある。
てか部屋汚すぎて引くんだけど、人の住む部屋じゃないから。
それは今関係ないし、ここで私を傷つけようとしても何の解決に
Yeah,
もならない。
arguing with Makio is not gonna work. Like,
まずは対話をすることを忘れないで。
じゃあな、朝さん。話し合えよ。
では私もこれで。
本当にありがとうございました。笠町くんもまた連絡。
いいよね、マキオちゃんは。大事にしてくれる人がいっぱいいて。
みんなあなたを心配して手伝ってくれたの。
yeah.
でも私が一番じゃないじゃん。
誰かを一番に思うというのはすごく大変なことだ。私には想像もつかない。でもあなたのお母さんの日記を見たとき、これはそういうものだと思ったよ。
読んだの？
読んでない。ムカつくから。処分すべきかどうか確かめただけ。だからあれは隠していたわけじゃなく、いつ渡すか決めかねていたの。どうぞ。
こんなん読んだって、お母さんが本当は何を考えてたかなんて分かんないじゃん。
そうだね。それが引っかかってるの？とりあえずお茶入れようか。私がお母さんはこう思っていたはずだと言えば気が晴れるのかもしれないけど、それはできない。わからない以上決めつけてはいけない。
Yeah, she's looking for answers, but
亡くなった人には弁明する機会もないし。
there are no answers. Definitive answers.
まあ私の言うことが全て正解ではないからね。だから今から言うことは完全に憶測になってしまうんだけど、あなたのありようを見ていると、あなたは愛されて育ったのだろうなと私は思う。もしそうなら私の姉も幸福だったんじゃないかと。そうだったらいい。
お誕生日おめでとう、朝。
私はそう思うよ。
嫌いなのに。
それとこれとは別。
I mean, the fact that she does say it, she's able to think that, like,
マキオちゃん、
means a lot.
大事な人が死んだことある？
ない。だけどとても悲しいことはあった。それを誰かと共有するつもりはない。
なんで？寂しいじゃんそんなの。
寂しくはない。私はね。私にとって自分の感情はとても
Yeah,
大事な
she's a
ものだ。
resident of this
それを
desert
踏み荒らす権利は誰にもない。
by her own
それ
choice.
に誰も絶対に私と全く同じように悲しくなることはないから。だから誰とも分かち合わない。
全然わかんない。わかんないよ。
Yeah, it kind of goes against a lot of what us has
少なくと
been
も
taught.
誰か
was
に
learn.
何かを書き残すことは大変なことだから。とても大きな気持ちがなければできることじゃない。
は？何それ？マキオちゃんの小説も？
かもね。お茶飲みなさい。買い出し行ってく
The
る。
depiction of Asa, like this teenage sort of, it's not really rebellion, but it's so real, like it's so well done.
孤独は
Yeah.
彼女には寄り添うのに。 私にはちっとも優しく
That's
なかった。
frustrating. Like, that's annoying. Don't.
私は絶対に正しい真実を欲しがった。なのに彼
Yeah,
女は決し
she
て
can't.
それを示そうとしなかった。
But Asa needs someone to rely on, and the fact that she's not able to do that is frustrating to her. It's not enough. But this journal might be enough for now. Is she gonna read it? Read the
悲
novels
しみ
instead.
は果てのない長い長い浜辺を歩くようなものだった。ずっと先で砂と水と空とが溶け合っていて、どこで尽きるかもわからないような美しい浜辺だ。一歩ごとに足が沈み、砂粒が指の間に入り込み、
This is from the opening
寄
as
せる
well.
波に足首が濡れる。
That's depiction from the novel is nice.
冷たい怒りが足元を濡らすたび、ハッとして彼がいないことを思い知る。俺の竜は死んでしまった。
The fact that novels are about grief.
これからどうすればいい？
This is how she's channeled it.
忘れよう。いや、許せない。殺してやる。誰を？話したい。誰に？眠っていたい。寄せては返す波ごとにルカの心は
This is
小舟
gonna
のよ
hit
うに
us
揺れた。
really hard, I think.
この浜辺はいつまで続くのだろう。
彼女はなぜ誰も亡くしたことがないのにこんなものを書くのだろう。こんなものを書くのになぜ私を真に理解しないのだろう。
It's isolating to her to not be felt by someone else. Just able to express this stuff that she feels.
なぜそれを知っているのにたとえその場しのぎでも欲しい嘘を決して私にくれないのだろう。なぜ
朝どうした？
お父さんとお母さん死んじゃった。
そうだね。
Yeah, good ass fucking decision to not do 3 today. I mean, this is like the emotional climax that we've been waiting for Asa. That's what the show's about, basically, is her dealing with this grief. And it seems she's finally accepted it. I really like how it's not her reading the journals. The journal that her mum's behind that is the trigger. It's reading Makio's, essentially her like real thoughts and her Makio's own grief. Really cool. I was expecting her to read the journal when we kind of cut to her in the dark. I'll read the rest of it. Unless that last episode she did read all of it, but it didn't seem like there was a lot. I got the impression she only read that sort of first page that Maki also read, unless I'm wrong there. Please do correct me. It wasn't too clear how extensive the journal was, obviously. She couldn't keep writing it given that she died, but I wasn't sure how much she had written beyond that page that we saw. Because I feel like I'd be surprised if the show didn't sort of disclose what was in there if Asa read more of it, because it's really important. But yeah, it was nice to get this whole recap at the start, because I mean that previous episode was incredible. One of the best episodes of the year. One of my favorite episodes, like straight up, like just how tight it was thematically, how just sort of it built up to the backstory with the mum. It was really, really, really well done. So it was nice to get a recap with a little end of that, especially since it's just been like 3 weeks now since I last watched. Well, just probably longer than that, given it came out on a Sunday. So yeah, it was nice to get a little recap on that. Again, it's funny because the show hasn't done that. I don't think in any of the other episodes is recap to that extent anyway. So maybe they did it for me, so I'm thankful for that. I do like this part as well of her acknowledging, because we knew that mug was from her mum. We didn't know the context for it though. And all of a sudden, she's thinking of these things. She's thinking of moments of kindness, moments of love from her mother. I'm reluctant to say her parents, because we don't know anything about the dad at all. He's present here, but we really don't know anything about him. I wonder if we'll get into that at all, or whether it's kind of making a point in itself that, like I sort of mentioned in the previous episodes, that the men in these family dynamics can much more easily get away with not being in their family's life compared to the women. We'll see, because it can easily go ahead and address some of the stuff of her father, but it could easily just not do it at all, and it would be making a impactful point by doing that regardless. So we'll see sort of how it ends up approaching that side of things. And yeah, I as I mentioned in the episode, I love this depiction of this sort of moody teenage Asa who is rebellion isn't quite the right word given what she's going through. This isn't just a teenage like rebellious stage at all. This is Asa fucking realizing her parents are dead. Like it's not the same, but it is very much her actions are very similar to those that would be in that rebellious teenage stage, and it's depicted really well. Like the sort of just the facial expression and the way the voice acting is great. And then we get Emery being the bestest friend ever. And yeah, the Makio kind of realizes all this, and she's like, maybe I shouldn't have been like. She maybe kind of regrets, because I meant as it was mentioned as well, she's left the note about food and how she's not wasn't able to eat together recently. How she's like on crunch time for work. Obviously, has a deadline she has to reach, and it's really not the time for that to be happening. Obviously, it's not under her control really, but it's just unfortunate timing for Asa that the one sort of person that is able to understand the situation the most is unavailable in her life, and even when she is available, she's not exactly emotionally available. And I'm not trying to slight Makio in any way. This is just how she is. Her taking in Asa isn't really what she was expecting. She's not exactly built for this, but she's certainly doing her best and learning as much as Asa is. But this sort of distance that is between them in this period is particularly tough on Asa. Kind of forces her to realise that no, she's not her mum. Because if it was her mum, maybe she would have said something. Maybe she would have noticed Asa feeling this way. Obviously, there's no way Asa would have felt this way if her mum was there. But you know what I mean. And Asa's kind of sort of forced to confront that. I feel like that's what Asa's initially realising was with. Obviously, we saw the whole sequence at the start of her sort of rejecting her mother's love, and she initially she's now becoming conscious of the moments that or conscious and sort of recollecting on the moments that her mum did shower her with love with the mug. She's like acknowledging that context to how she was given that, and the audience were getting to see that as well. Really cool. And she's also confronting the idea that Makio isn't her mum either, and maybe her mum might have doted on her more in this sort of time of need that she's in at the moment, where Makio is not able to. And both these things are sort of happening at the same time, culminates in the ending and all that. We'll get to that when we get to that. I do love the little bits of memory we're getting. Like, even just this, as lately ever as I don't know, people I truly like. It's really nice stuff. I hope we just do keep tapping back into her as the show goes on. I mean, we've only got like what? I mean, this is episode 8. I know more episodes after this. 4 more episodes after this? Maybe 5? I can't remember. Yeah, it's 5. It's 13, which is great. And then Makio reaching out for help. Both Tono and... is it Kasamachi? I keep forgetting his name. I think it's Kasamachi. And even though they're not maybe the best people to help, given their own sort of school life experience and their relationship with their family or their parents, it doesn't really matter. It's the fact that Makio reached out in the first place is enough. If she may not have been able to, one getting it from memory, and then 2 actually going out with them to find her with the car. She may not have found them, may not have found Asa if they didn't have these people around her. Like, again, great transition. They always do really good transitions with the desert. Just stepping into it as naturally as she's walking. It's not like a big moment, like for her to be stepping into this location, this area. It's just something that happens naturally. It's just something that she's just falling into and wandering into. Yeah, she mentions here Makio was her dad that passed. Yeah, and she didn't feel grief at all. And she said obviously at the end that she's felt a significant moment of sadness or something along those lines. She felt there was a moment in her life that was deeply like sad and depressing, and that she doesn't want to share. I wonder if it is related to this grief at all in any way. With her dad passing, anything. I do wonder if we will ever see that, or the fact that she's like not wanting to share that with anyone will just stay like that, and that's fine as well, because there are things like that. Weirdly reminds me a bit of a scene between in Hibike between Midori and Motomu in season 3, where we get this kind of scene of Motomu and Midori talking. We don't see what they're talking about, and then Kumiko comes up and asks them afterwards, "Oh, what was all that about?" And Midori's just like, I'm not gonna say. Like, I don't. You don't need to know." And we still don't know to this day, and that's fine. Like, you can make, you can sort of, you can imply what was being spoken about there, but we don't have to know. There's just things that don't have to be said here, because that is just being human, and these people are people. They're characters. They're humans as much as we are in that sense, and that depicting them in this way, I think, is important. And it's important to recognize that just because it is a story, it doesn't mean we need to have every single thing laid out to us and every single thing sort of told to us. It's important that these characters act human in shows like this, especially in Hibike, for example, where it is all about being human and relationships and coming of age. Like, it's important that those shows depict humans as being human. I haven't really explained that too well, but I hope you're sort of grasping at what I mean there. But yeah, I wonder if that is related. I wonder if in these maybe next 4 episodes it will be more focused on a bit of Makio, and so I feel like I wonder what we are going to get in these next 5 episodes, actually. Asa's accepted it. I wonder where we go from here. It will become a lot more clear in the next episode. But, yeah. I just kind of realising that these people aren't the best for it. And I like this little bit from Kasamachi as well. Just how this this small tiny interaction has impacted him clearly. The fact he remembers it and never skipped again after that. I mean, that was in his first year of high school. He had another 3 years to skip again, and he didn't. And then Tono, who is quite blunt about these kind of things, which is good. He's kind of telling Kasamachi that isn't normal, and it's not something that he might have realised. Yeah, and he's like, maybe you're right there. And then we see Kasamachi do a similar thing to Asa in the car. It's just how these parents' interactions and behaviours end up affecting their children in ways that they don't even realise. And then Kasamachi does realise it after he says it to Asa. He's like, oh, I'm behaving like my dad. But just a nice little tidbit of Kasamachi's growing up and his relationship with his father. It was just nice to see something about a father in general, because like I said, we don't get that. Yeah, and Asa's just in a foul mood here, and having to just be around these 3 is just a lot for her. She wants to be alone right now, but at the same time she wants someone to reach out to her, and these 3 aren't the people she wanted to do that. There's no one actually that could do that in this situation, because she's yearning for her parents at the moment, and she can easily make excuses for why these people are here. Kasamachi, she says, so that Makio likes him. Tono, which she doesn't say outright, but Tono, I'm sure she's just thinking, oh well, that's his job, is to look out for. But it's not. But she can sort of make that. She can sort of make that reach that it is his sort of responsibility to make sure that Makio is being a good parent to Asa. And then Makio, obviously, there's a whole lot of complicated emotions and feelings there that Asa's easily able to sort of twist and turn in her favour to make excuses for why they're here. And yeah, Asa's just deflecting, being like, oh, well, your room's dirty and you're right. And it's like, yeah, this isn't the time for that. This isn't going to work either. But again, it's very, very much depicting a teenage girl accurately, or just a teenage person accurately, is those sort of deflections and those just all of a sudden insulting the person you're trying to argue with rather than actually confronting their points. Because the moment you start actually confronting their points and arguing with them genuinely, you're probably going to lose, and that's just not something you're willing to face right now. It's not something you're too stubborn to even face that possibility. I like the line as well, to put someone above someone else is such a huge act, and Makio's not capable of it, but she's able to recognise when other people might be capable of it. I love her coming back to that and being like, that's how it felt like your mum was to you. And I do wonder if the sort of feelings Makio has towards her mother, towards obviously her sister and Asa's mother, regarding that, and knowing that, or thinking that she raised Asa well, that must be complicated to her to accept, and now have to deal with directly with Asa herself. God, yeah, that must be just a lot to comprehend. As this person that you hate, you also recognize that they've raised this human being with a lot of love, and now you're the one that's dealing with it. I know that's kind of the whole thing here, is that we sort of gathered in the early episodes, is that Makio now has to deal with this isn't the right word, but product of the person that she hates, is interesting. And I wonder just how she feels in this moment now, having Asa accept that her parents did love her and that they're gone, I wonder if she accepted that they did love her actually, or whether Asa's just accepted that they're gone. Again, things will become more clear in the next episode. Like I mentioned, Asa's just like desperately looking for answers here, for absolutes, for truths, and she's not gonna get them, and especially not from Makio. She can get interpretations and feelings and just sort of subjective ideas about her parents and how they were, but only she can come to a solid conclusion, which even then isn't objective. But as it is for everyone in life, we all have our own perspectives of people, and just sort of, I think, believing in your own sort of feelings of other people is important. If you constantly doubted your own perspective of someone, it would be exhausting and it would be too much to handle. So as what majority of people do, obviously they come to conclusions about people, they have their own perspective, and they just believe in that because they believe in what they've seen and trust in themselves to come to a fair conclusion of these people. And obviously you're going to be biased towards your own perspective more than anyone else's. Again, it reminds me a bit of Blooming to You and Toko's sister. I've kind of mentioned that before about how it can be shocking to find out these things about other people when you are only sort of so fixated on your own perspective of them. But yeah, Nasa's just looking for a sort of an objective sort of perspective here, but there isn't one, and so she can just so easily sort of default to, oh well, I guess they didn't love me then, and it's so easy. It's much more easier to accept their death if that is the case. Yeah, I love this depiction of Makio. She's just sort of, reveling isn't the right word, but she's accepted her loneliness or accepted these emotions and isn't willing to share that sadness with other people. But at the same time, she's able to understand other people's sadness, and that is again something that frustrates Asa. And I want to kind of jump back a bit now to another scene of when Asa was sort of complaining about how she doesn't have anything. She was talking about other characters, her friends, and how they have something to them, like personality-wise. Asa's been sort of clinging on to this band and trying to like make music as just sort of an outlet of her own emotions, and it's clear that beyond just the grief that Asa's experiencing, she's also having like sort of a bit of an identity crisis and like struggling to come to terms with what makes her her. And as you do at that age, as people do a lot of ages, I still do myself, you compare yourself to other people, and Asa looks at these other people and is like, well, this person is this and has this, and I don't have anything, and who else better to blame it on than my parents who passed away? It's their fault. They died and took everything along with them. But I just wanted to sort of bounce back to that, because I was a scene that as I was watching kind of struck me, but I glazed past it a bit there without realizing. Yeah, and it's frustrating to Asa to have Makio to be so cold and be able to embrace the loneliness when Asa can't at all. And even more so, it gets more frustrating when she then reads the novel and it's like, wow, these emotions are exactly what I'm feeling. It doesn't make sense to her that Makio's able to sort of write these sort of things when, to Asa's point of view, he hasn't been through what she's been through. And there's all just such real emotions from Asa. Is that frustration, that like jealousy, the rejection, the coping. It's all just so real. Even for someone that isn't even going through grief. I mean, me myself, I'm very fortunate that at this point in time I haven't lost anyone close to me in my family, and I'm I'm in my mid-20s. Like I'm not young. Well, I am young, but I think I'm very fortunate at this point in my life. I haven't luckily experienced losses that to people that I've been really close with. I've experienced losses to family members, but I've never really been close to them. And it's sort of something that I do end up thinking about a little bit, is when I do get to that point when a certain family member that I am close to passes away, how am I going to deal with it? How am I going to process that grief? And it's morbid but interesting to think about, especially for someone as in my mid-20s that hasn't experienced that. How does someone this old deal with that when it hasn't been dealt with before? But we'll see, I guess. It doesn't bother me, but it's just, I think it's just interesting to think about, and it is something that I do ruminate on every now and then. Yeah, like loneliness, like I love that loneliness is a friend to her, and while that is frustrating for Asa would like to be able to be friends with loneliness. That's still not a good thing. I know we've seen Makio in the desert, and she's obviously very good at understanding her own emotions, Makio, but it still doesn't mean that her sort of affinity with loneliness is a good thing. It means she comes off as cold and ends up rejecting a lot of these things that make people human. And that's why I was wondering whether we will get that focus with Makio in these next few episodes or not. We'll see. Yeah, and then we get this is when I was expecting her to read the journal, but she doesn't. She reads Makio's novels, and what she gets is a depiction of grief that is just way too similar to what she's going through. It's a lot to handle, and it's really interesting that it is Makio's novels that is what the final sort of shove or push for Asa to accept their death. It's also really interesting for Makio to write about these things in the first place, when we do perceive her to be so sort of emotionless in that sense, like regarding these sort of things and relationships, yet she's able to resonate with Asa so strongly here. And that is also frustrating to Asa, like I mentioned, is that despite how she comes across, she's able to write this sort of sequence that moves her so deeply. And I really wasn't expecting Makio's novels to be about grief either. That was surprising to me. Or a main theme, at least, to be about grief. Obviously, I don't want to say disguised, but sort of dressed up as this sort of fantasy novel, it seems. Yeah, it's just frustrating to her, and then she just sits with it for a bit, doesn't say anything, just stares at it for a bit, and it all just hits her. It all just becomes a bit too much, and she's able to find it. And I just want to sort of compliment I didn't say it while the reaction was going on, but the voice acting here is phenomenal. I understand that Asa is a voice actor is a sort of newer one, but my god, what a cry! What a realistic cry! It sounds natural. It sounds ugly. It's awkward to sort of listen to in a really good way. Yeah, really, really impressive stuff on the voice acting point of view. Yeah, we get this line, and the moment she said "my mum and dad," like it's just and then you just see Makio's look there. The drawings are so good as well. They're gone, and Makio's just like, yeah. And that's all Makio needs to do at this point in time, is just embrace her, be by her side. We don't need to have some sort of long talk at this point. That might come later, but just having Makio there. The fact that Makio did hear her and come in, I think she sort of understood exactly what Asa was going through there and knew that she had to go and be by her side. Really, like, props to Makio there. But yeah, what an episode. I think I'm just going to go straight on to the next one now because I feel like I've been speaking for quite some time, and obviously doing 2 episodes, the video might end up being a bit long. But yeah, let's just jump into episode 9 now and see where we go from here.
食べちゃったちょっと泡開けます開けます
Flashback. Okay. Interesting to have that pronounced as well.
ありがてえ親戚の集まり
Ah, the friend group, yeah.
同じく
今度こ1杯目早くない？
温まってきたところだぜあーうまそうファンです何の？牡蠣の
マキオはもうずっと正月逃げてるんでしょ？
正月に限らないけど姉が子供連れてしょっちゅう集まるとこになっちゃったし。
あっていうかマキオあれは笠町市
ああ別れた。
えうっそなんであ
なるほどね。
いや全然わかんないし
なんか完璧す
That's
ぎて
funny that she went along a bit.
何細かく口出ししてくる
全然。でも自分がバカに思えてほとほと疲れた。
That feels like a very real
具
Makio
体的
reason.
に
まだ酔ってないの。
もう正月だよなんか浮いた話ないない
私ももう恋愛しません。
しないってしないの
しない。
それは決定事項？
最近決めた。っていうか分かった。
分かっちゃった
Oh,
の
good for her.
分かっちゃった。そしたらね、今までのこともあれって
なるほどした
はい。今日から行く気になったようなのでご心配おかけしました。
Interesting. The
はい。
time.
ゆっくり見守ってやるつもりでいます。
The show hasn't
本
really
人がど
done
うにか
that.
するしかないことなので。
Emery. The best.
はい。よろしくお願いします。失礼します。
I'm feeling a Makio focused episode.
しんど。世界中がうるさい。
こんにちは。
ああ、やっと来た。
ごめん久しぶり
たくみさん、風邪こじらせたんだって。
Something like that.
はいおかげで10連休
いいなあ、10連休。
チラシ管理。
そう。
Oh, I hope we see the
出番のない一年の
concert.
仕事。
学祭の時から何も変わってねえよな、俺ら。
あれみもりちゃん。
朝が休んでる間に決まったんだよ。2年のバンドに入って公演デビュー。
だって普通にうまいもん。いるだけで目立つし。
だから俺らもすっげえ上手くなるか、オリジナル作って認められるしか公演に出る道はない。
オリジナル。
ほら、オリジナルは優先されるルールでしょ？
じゃあ合わせてみる？
お願いします
かっこいいっすね。
Man, the bass sounds good.
ずるい。
俺たちもさ、
何か話したいことはありますか
わかんないです。
何でもいいんですよ
普通何を話すんですか？
何でも正解のないことですから
ずるい。ムカつく。それって私が考えなきゃいけないんですか？何なのカウンセリングって。何でも話せって何も思いつかないし。
何も考えてないからじゃん。 カウンセリングか。塾の男子は雑談しに行ってるって言ってたよ。不登校気味らしいんだけど。
ふん。待って、その男子とは。
はい、出た、うっざ。
Yeah, not
はい、もうや
loved.
め。
なんで彼氏はできた彼氏。
うっざ。朝とはもう恋話ないから。
なんで
うざいから。なんでもいいから肉買ってきて。
なんでもって。
マキオさん？
なんか最近超無気力で。基本死んでんの。仕事がとか言って。
小説家ってそんなに大変？
そうでも好きなことしてんだからよくない？たまに昼間からビール飲めるし。マジで？
I should definitely want something that
私
she
も
can
好きな仕
pour
事がしたい
her
な。
emotions
何
and
やるの？
frustrations into.
わかんない。だってわかんなくない？
ねえ、誰か決めてくれればいいのに。
それ好きな仕事じゃなくない？
でも自分に何の才能があるのかわかんないし。
まあね。
Very real.
朝だってマキオさんみたいな文才あるかもよ。才能発揮しちゃう？
しちゃうかも。G、お出口は右側です。お客様にお願いいたします。車内では携帯電話を。
Wonder if it's lyrics.
1年生チームで作詞しようってなって。
作詞？
部活で。
曲は？
まだない。とりあえず詩だけ。
いいの？見て。
なんか感想聞かせて。
はあ。どれどれ？
I wouldn't get embarrassed like reading them. It's
オ
like
リジナルの曲を作ると優先的に
I
ライ
wouldn't
ブ
be
に
able to
出られ
show
るル
like
ー
my
ルなんだよね。
Guardian, something like this.
今日書き始めたとこだからまだ全然なんだけど。どう？
Yeah.
へえ。
何そのリアクション？
いや、若々し
Yeah,
くて
it's a lot.
いいと思
Like
う。
so just vulnerable on the page, you know.
初めて。
動揺してんじゃん。何これ？黒歴史？今まさに黒歴史が作られてんの？
いや、そういうものは気にせず。
Yeah,
今の
when
う
it
ちに
comes to
たくさん
creative
作った方が
endeavors,
いい。
you can't worry about
こ
that
れ
sort
は
of
真
stuff.
面目な話。
否定はしないんじゃん。もういい。コツ。なんかコツ教えて。
じゃあ、まず主題が不明瞭なので一つに絞るといい。前半ミクロなことに焦点が当たってる分、盛り上がりで大げさなくらい誇張したらいいかもしれない。あと全体的に曖昧な表現になってるから、もう少し。
そういうんじゃなくて。
言いたいことをしっかり書けばいいんじゃない？
Yeah, that's something she's trying to figure
言い
out.
たいことなんてない。
ああ、そうか。
他は？他のアドバイス。
そうだな。死ぬ気で殺す気で書く。
It's a cool
死
line.
ぬ気で打ち、鍛え、研いで、命をかけて殺す。書くとはそういう作業だから。
なんで？
Interesting visuals there, Makia.
なんでそうやってわ
What do
か
you
んない
mean by
言葉で
that?
喋るの？違う国の人みたい。
そうか。
っていうかもう返して。
That theme again.
いや、これちょうだい。
は？なんで？
元気出るから。語彙が足りないんじゃない？語彙。それだわ。多分それ。
私にはこの時の彼女の言葉を留めておくことができなかった。誰もがまるで違う国の言葉で話している。私がそう気づいたのはもっとずっと後だった。
全然わかんない。
I like that line thing.
おばさんが
I'm a
小
rich
説
person
家
I
で
love.
親が死んで超辛くて音楽的に深みが出てもいいはずなのに私はなんで全然パッとしないの？
ということが私の一番の悩みだった。
Interesting having these. Wonder what they're trying with that.
いいなぁ。
ん？
私も分かりたい。
わかりたいよね。お先でーす。
腹立つわ。
まあなんか適当に日持ちそうなもん買ってきたから。
甘くない？
え？
That face.
出迎えもしないで。
ああ LINE したらあと10行だって。
もっと厳しくした方が本人のためだと思う。
いや少なくとも俺は経験上言えるけど厳しくされていいことはないと思うぞ。それに好きな人に甘くするのは当然だろ。お、マキオさん、ついにあと10行が終わったと。おお、お疲れお疲れ。なんかいろいろ買ってきたぞ。
何？
ただ焼けばいいかと思って。なあ、誰かと会ってみるのは？
会うって？
あ、いや、聞き流してくれていいんだけど、同業者の人に会って話でもしてみたら突破口になったりしないかなって。スランプ。
ちょっと。
じゃあ、ジュノさん。
何？スランプなの？
That voice actor is so iconic.
でしょ？
That goes it right away.
お邪魔します。
あ、どうも。
よくしてもらってんだって？あなたはそれに感謝する必要はないけどね。決めたのは広大さんだし、何より何より。
ジュノさん、コーヒー。
ああ、どら焼き食べよう。どら焼き。そっか、私も2年くらい前まで超スランプだった。
コンスタントに本出してたよね。
3年間くらいかな。書けるのは書けるんだけどね、味がしなくて。
味？
私たちってこれは絶対美味しいぞって必死こいて作るじゃない、で人にも美味しいよって言ってもらえたりしてさ、人を選ぶ味になっちゃうこともありますけどでもそうやって作ったものの味がしないの。何を書いても楽しくない。すごく寂しくて心細かった。
寂しい。
うん、すごく。
本当に昼からビール飲んでる。
いいじゃん。
Going through the days a
仕
bit
事が
now.
終わったんですよ。
Good.
ウケる。お邪魔します。ブランドの店員とか、建築も気になる。朝は？
ライブハウス？
いいじゃん。ねえ、マキオさん。
うん？
小説家ってやりがいある？
全然。
うちの母はすごく頭のいい人でさ、私という子供がいなければ、あるいは彼女がもっと遅く生まれていれば、きっと一角の人になっただろうなって思うんだ。
Interesting thought to
だから
have.
なんとなく私が母の人生を潰したみたいな気持ちがあるのよ。
Interesting.
何？現在？いや、それ社会のせいじゃん。
Yeah.
その通り。
俺が就職決まった時にさ。
銀行？
うん。親父はもちろんお前にはがっかりだっていう感じだったんだけど、父さん銀行に決めました。そうか。
あなたのお父さんってつくづく。
だろう。でもそれを聞いた母が耳まで赤くして、お母さんは立派だと思うとかなんとか。結婚前は銀行勤めだったんだよ彼女。あの人が怒りをあらわにしたのはあの時だけかもなって今ふと思い出した。
そっ こ。
やだもう、お母さん最低。
エミリなんてこないだまでうんち漏らしてたのにだって。
マキオさんのバカ。
笑ってるけど、あなたもその頃はダダ漏れだったと思うよ。
え、バカ、朝のうんこ漏らし。
そうだ、あれ美味しかった。お母さんのあれ。
弁当レシピ？
じゃがいもと梅干し、豚肉で巻いて甘辛く焼いたやつ。
おわ、久々に食いて。
掘った穴を埋めるような虚しい商売よね、我々。
It's an interesting episode, this
っ
one.
ていうか朝分離決めた？まだ。
分離？
マキオさん、プリント読んでる？
まだ読んではいない。
まだ。国立狙いか。数学ができれば理系なんだけど。
あ、文系理系の話。
マキオちゃんはどっちだった？
文系に決まっておろうが。
おろうが。おろう。就職のために行くか、勉強のために行くか。
Yeah, that tough decision.
無理せずと言いたいところだが。
I always would go with what you want to do or what you enjoy.
仕事は。
But it's not as
マ
easy
キオ
as
さんっ
that
ていつ
all
小
the
説家
time.
になろうって決めたの？
気づいたらなってた。
反則！真面目に考えようね。
私だって真面目ですよ。
黙っててください。
ね、何書いてんの？ちびさん。
Chibi-san.
その人身長気にしてんのよ。
そうなの？年のこと言ったんだけど、それは悪かったね。
これから伸びるも
ん。いいじゃない。私もだいぶんちびだよ。
可愛いじゃんね。
ん。やだ。ワイドパンツ似合いたいの。どれ焼きちょうだい。
あ、はい。
ねえ、ちび同士仲良くしようよ。
やだ。なりたい自分になりたいの。
まあ、つまんなくても平凡でもやりたいことならなんとかなるさ。ってのは俺の話だけどね。
君たちの未来は無限とか言われても困っちゃうんだよな。
なりたい自分か。そりゃ永遠の命題だね。
Huh.
ムカつく。
ちょっと失礼な口聞きなさんな。
朝だっけ？君は今人類の永遠の試練に喧嘩を売ったぞ。
ああ、自由でいたい。お腹すいた。
まあ、こうぜ。出来は悪くない。
よし、なんか作るか。
全然わかんない。ずるい。ムカつく。ずるい。全然わかんないよ。
That was fun. It's nice to see that depiction not be so heavy up here in the desert, I guess.
いい？
はい。
出かけます。
いってらっしゃい。
It's very exhausting living.
おやすみ。
昨日さ、夜中に目が覚めちゃった。
え、寒い？ 湯たんぽ使うか。
あ、それ行こなきゃ。
そういや、作詞
Love
ど
this
うなっ
track, by the way.
その話やめて。
た？いや、バカにしてなくて、本当にやればいいと思ってんの。
行ってきます。
はい。いってらっしゃい。自分が誰で何を愛して愛さなくてどうやって生きていくのか、いつか分かる日が来るのかな。いつか。
Man, that was an interesting episode. I feel like I'm struggling to sort of hone in my thoughts on it. I just kind of got the general vibe that I was expecting a sort of macro focus based on what we got at the start, but it felt like it was a collective focus on like everyone and pursuing things and hobbies and understanding what you want to do, career paths, school, jobs, all that sort of stuff. And it makes sense to sort of get this now after Asa has accepted her parents' death. I don't want to say she's got over her grief, because obviously it's really not that simple, but she's got to a point where she's able to sort of live in the present while also dealing with it. So it's interesting. It makes a lot of sense to get this now. Interesting the way it's been depicted and how we got a hell of a lot of characters this episode, a hell of a lot of thoughts from different characters, and with the through line of Asa being the one interpreting it all and struggling to do that in that case as well. And interesting starting with this as well, and getting this, her friend being like, yeah, I had an epiphany, I'm just not asked about romance and falling in love again, like, and highlighting this happening at this age is important because that's just how it is. Sometimes people don't realise whether it's what they want to do, whether it's their perspective on certain things, how they are, relationships, all that sort of stuff. They might not realise it until later on in life, and that's perfectly normal. I myself, I don't really know what I want to do. I'm sort of just working my current job, doing this as well. I mean, if I could, I'd love to do this as my job for sure, because it is something I'm passionate about. But I understand it's really not that simple. I'm not really doing this to do it as my job for sure. That's not realistic at this point in time. If it gets to a point where maybe it is a possibility, I absolutely would look to try and pursue it and put my focus in it. But right now, I'm just happy to do this as a hobby, and obviously have my job as well. But in terms of a career path and supporting myself and eventually supporting my own family, I don't know what I want to do. Maybe I never will, and I want to say that's fine. But is it fine? I guess it is, as long as you're fine, if that makes sense. At least I have an understanding that I enjoy watching stuff, anime, playing games, listening to music, movies, manga, all that, and talking about it with people. It's important to have a hobby in that sense that you really do love just wholeheartedly and can engage in without having to think about or doing that alongside maybe something that you're not quite as passionate about. It acts as a reprieve and it's something to look forward to. I know for me, like the way I am able to sort of get through a week or a day or whatever of work is knowing that I have this X episode of anime to look forward to, this game that might be coming out this movie that's coming up, this season of anime that's going to be coming out, this new song, this new album, that sort of stuff. It's the media that sort of keeps me going, that I'm able to look forward to. I'm able to, more than anything else. And maybe that's a bit sad, I don't know, but that's just how I'm able to sort of get through my job and my life easily. And this episode sort of feels all about understanding that and what you want. And for sure, it's good to get the opinions of others and talk about it, as Asa does try to do. But there can be times where it's all just like, it just goes over your head. It's like, I don't understand any of this. It's not something you're able to just grasp, and it's not something you're sort of able to recognize and then seek out and actively find. It's usually something that just falls into your lap in terms of understanding what you want to do and how you are, and it's hard to actively look for that, if that makes sense. It's just something people end up realizing one way or another at one point in their life or another. I kind of let this thing because it seems to frustrate Asa that she might not be good enough to do this, and other people are better than her. It stunts that sort of enjoyment of it. Yeah, it doesn't feel fair. And then she's sort of prompted to talk about anything, and that's like way too wishy-washy for her. I think Asa does like to deal in absolutes a lot, and the sort of vagueness of stuff doesn't sit well with her a lot of the time, it feels. And that can be something that is very prominent in neurodivergency, autism, like vagueness, and that sort of, whether it's stuff like this or general like social cues, it's hard to pick up on in people that are neurodivergent. But so Asa likes to deal with things that are sort of straightforward and set in stone, I guess, or objective to a sense. That's the impression I sort of get of her anyway. And we get more of the romance stuff with Emery. I'm interested. Emery does have this detachment to her regarding that. I do wonder if she is ace, or whether it is more on whether it is more or her being a lesbian or bi. I don't know. We'll maybe get more answers of that. We maybe won't, and it's fine either way. To be honest, the show sort of depicts these things in a way that is compelling. That I don't feel like I need answers to all these things. It's just something to sort of think about and sit on, rather than need these sort of reveals in that sense. If that makes any sense, I don't know. It is good that Asa is able to just earnestly sort of write this sort of stuff and then show it to someone, because at this age, I know personally I would not be able to do these sort of videos at this age. One, because I wouldn't be, like, I guess media literate enough, but I feel like that doesn't really matter. I wouldn't be able to talk about them as, I don't want to say well, I often don't talk about these things well. Like, there's certain parts I'm able to be like, yeah, I talked about that pretty well, but a lot of the time I feel like I'm just waffling and making it up as I go along. But I wouldn't be able to talk them as proficiently as I do now. And secondly, it would just be too embarrassing, just to record myself and cry on camera, laugh on camera, make all these expressions and faces and statements and readings on camera. Like, it would just be too much at that age. I wouldn't be able to do it. I just wouldn't. It's just not something I would be capable of. So it's good to see Asa able to kind of just jump into these creative endeavors earnestly and be able to share it with other people like this in a straightforward way. I like how Makio, when she's asked for advice, immediately jumps to sort of very literate stuff in terms of like structure and pacing and all that kind of thing. But then Asa's like, no, I just need like more normal advice that I'm able to understand. And And that doesn't really help her again, because it's like, and then we get to this like, sequence of them, everyone speaking different languages. We first of all get this sequence, which is pretty, it's not awesome visual, by the way, of the depiction of Makio sitting down, bleeding into the seat, and the lines not like being clear between her and the seat is very cool, and her and the other Makio. But yeah, this isn't subtle at all, and it's really interesting because I haven't thought about Makio's sort of killing or removing her older self in any sort of way up to this point. I'm surprised by it when she thought of this like right with the intent to kill. She ended up thinking of herself. But maybe she does mean it in a bit of a literate way, and she wants to write with the intent to kill her own emotions and not have to deal with them. She just processes it all through writing, as we saw with the grief in the novel that Asa read. Maybe, I don't know. It's really interesting. I think this is something that we're probably going to be getting into in these last few episodes, possibly alongside Asa sort of struggling to understand who she is and what she wants to do. But yeah, this is great like stuff here, and it is interesting because Makio like was really thinking about it a lot, and like sort of had to snap out of it and be like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Asa here. Yeah, we get all these scenes of people just speaking other languages again. I think this is the first time we've actually seen people speak other languages. We've seen people depicted in other countries and in different settings, but I think it's interesting to get this sort of communication now. Before it was just the setting, when Asa was still dealing with the grief and unable to sort of I don't want to say she wasn't listening to people, but Asa was absolutely caught up in her own grief to sort of actively listen to people and understand them, I feel like. And now we get the confusion with words here rather than just the setting, because the grief is now no longer the focal, like in front of Asa. It's in the foreground, or in the background, sorry. Whereas now this sort of thing is in the foreground and Asa's able to focus on this more. So now we're getting the actual language sort of as a language barrier, not in a literal sense, obviously, but I hope that makes sense. I feel like I explained that really badly, but for me it makes sense why we're getting the language stuff now compared to before, when we were only getting sort of the depictions visually in another country, and now we're getting it in an audio sense as well for Asa. I do like this sort of entitlement almost. He's like, my aunt's a novelist, my parents are dead, and I've got it so hard. How can't I just sort of write proficiently because I have these experiences and I have these people around me? But it's obviously not as simple as that. You could have a whole line of family of actors, but it doesn't mean you're going to be a great actor unless you're in the Skarsgård family. But it is interesting that Asa has this sort of, she feels entitled to this sort of thing, as pretty valid sort of reaction at that age as well. Especially when she is frustrated about not being able to sort of find something she's good at or particularly passionate about. It's just interesting seeing Asa just observe people and lines in this episode. Like, she's often not engaged with them, she's just observing them and learning and trying to understand them. And while she's struggling to, it's just interesting to see her sort of take the sort of background in this episode while she just observes other people and the way they are. I do really like this character, Juno, as well. The voice actor, I am going to check, because she such a recognizable voice. I do wonder if it will be on any list yet or not. There we go. Kujida. Yeah, just Kujida. Yeah, she's done all sorts of like older roles in anime. Orochimaru, that's crazy, from Naruto. Um, and Hitogami, the god from Mushoku Tensei. I think that's who I sort of recognized her from. And the snake from Beastars, which I do need to check out the final season for. Yeah, but that voice that's such an iconic voice for me. Even though those roles aren't like that significant, but in terms of just like the moment she starts speaking, I was like, oh my god, I know her. Like, also really just interesting perspective of like taking someone else's life. And the Mac is like, that shouldn't be your issue, that's a societal issue. And I feel like that sort of links back to what we were getting in episode 7 with the whole thing of being a mother and trying to conform to society, and how that can strip someone of their individuality and maybe their like passion or their potential in a way. Again, more parental stuff with Kasamachi. We just like sort of getting little hints of here and there. He's turned out really well though. He's done well for himself for sure though. Yeah, so Ass is aiming for university, right? A national university. I think that makes a lot of sense. That's sort of, I feel like it's a similar situation to what I was in, where I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I just thought, I'll just go and study something at university. I'm not interested in entering the fucking 9 to 5 matrix job sphere yet. I delayed that as much as I possibly could. So for me, it was just studying and hopefully sort of learning what I like while doing that. Just sort of picking something I'm maybe vaguely interested in, and then hoping there's certain aspects of that I am really interested in. It didn't happen, but whatever. Yeah, and I think you should choose based on just what you want to study and what you're interested in, for sure. Pursuing something that like so heavily with a university and investing so much time into it, into something that you're not interested in, is just never a good idea. It will be draining. It will feel like you've wasted your life. I've been there. I dropped out early from doing that, but it was horrible. It was really horrible. Yeah, I do just like Asa sort of like being just so frustrated that there's all these people around her who have a grasp of who she is, but it doesn't really help that a lot of the people around her are adults as well. We have Juno, Makio, Kasamachi. These people have like doubled her life experience, at least. So it's unfair to compare herself to them, but naturally she's going to. And then Emily, who, I mean, she's in a similar position with Asa, but she doesn't seem to be agonizing over it as much, which might be similarly as frustrating to Asa as the other things are. And she feels she's not able to get any support. Like, she's just stuck alone in the desert watching other people go ahead of her. That's also a very real feeling, is feeling like your peers are ahead of you and moving forward without you. That's such a real feeling. Even when after I dropped out of university, that was such a heavy sort of, dealing with that was really heavy for me, comparing myself to my friends and being like, oh my god, all these people, they understand what they want to do, they're much more ahead of me, and I've just dropped out, and I've taken a massive step back when I was initially in front. But again, comparing yourself to others never bears any fruit. It's just never anything good. Not a healthy behaviour at all. There was something I wanted to talk about, but I think I've forgotten it. There was a particular thing that happened in the episode, but I think I've forgotten it, unfortunately. Really good follow-up episode though to the previous one, establishing the sort of direction we might be heading in the final section of the series. As I said in the last episode, our discussion, I was like, I don't particularly know where we're going to go from here, and now I'm like, yeah, I certainly do, but in a way, but it is still, they are still able to branch out to other things, and I'm not certain they're going to like pursue this sort of topic or another. It feels very up in the air and very confusing in a similar way that Asa sort of feels about what she wants to do and all the people around her and all this advice. It's like the show for me right now feels in a similar spot to where Asa is in the show, and which I think is really cool. But I'm almost certain we'll get Makio focus based on that line of killing, of writing with the intent to kill, and I'm also certain we're going to get more focus on Asa with the band, hopefully, and hopefully Asa understanding that maybe that is what she wants to do. And hopefully not let other people deter her from that, and just as a sort of understanding and accepting herself more and coming to terms with what she wants and how she behaves and how she's able to process all these things happening and dealing with how she wants to move forward, rather than comparing herself with other people and then inevitably getting down about it and being confused, like, why have these people got it easy and I haven't. But yeah, another great episode. Really, two really fantastic episodes. So hopefully this will come out, and then you'll see the other two episodes, which will be episode 10 and the new one coming out this week on Sunday, episode 11. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. That was tiring. I wouldn't be able to do a third episode right now, for sure. That is for certain. But really glad to be back. Really glad to be watching Ikoku Nikki again. Just glad to be able to talk about it and vent on certain things as well, because it's sort of the only real opportunity I get. But yeah, let me know how you feel about both episodes. Let me know if I've sort of maybe interpreted some stuff wrong, or you feel differently about certain things, or if you found anything as interesting, stuff like that. You know how it is. And I appreciate, again, if you're at this point in the discussion, I know I kind of do this very often, is when, especially a long video like this, if you're still here, if you're listening to me right now, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to what I have to say about this show. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next two episodes, which shouldn't be too long from when you see this, hopefully. Bye.